celebrate our newly acquired FARO 3D Visionary Scanner. For those that don't know me, my name is Matt Stazicki. I'm the Sergeant of the Traffic Unit. This is Acting Sergeant Jason Herder, and we'd like to welcome you this morning. Thanks for joining us. Before we begin, I'd like to recognize three groups of individuals who made today possible. I would like to thank the Police Services Board for their support, for allowing us an opportunity to present this proposal, and for their approval. I'd like to thank Senior Administration for their support during this entire process. And I'd like to thank the Gaiswinkler family for their involvement and their support throughout this entire process. In July of 2018, we lost a very valuable member of our community and our service, Andrew Gaiswinkler. Andrew was a very passionate officer. He cared about traffic. He was very knowledgeable and skilled in reconstruction. And having worked alongside Andrew, I can tell you that he took great pride in attention to detail. And Andrew cared about doing the right thing and making our jobs better. To the family, to Kim, to Jenny, Monica, Lauren, Eden, Elise, and Evan, who are not here today, and to the rest of the family, I can tell you that this product, this scanner, has made our jobs more effective, more efficient, and safe. Thank you for your involvement. Thank you for your support. I'd like to thank Acting Sergeant Jason Herder for his involvement in the research process, the training, the acquisition, and the deployment. Jay is one of our lead reconstruction officers, and he has taken great pride in this product. He was Andrew's closest partner with our service. And I'd like to thank members of the media for attending and celebrating with us this acquisition this morning. At this time, I'm going to call on Jason Herder to provide you with a brief history of how reconstruction has evolved over the years with the Chan-Kemp Police Service. Jay.
Thank you. Going back to our amalgamation back in 1998, our original reconstruction officers would reconstruct a scene using baseline measurements. How that would take place is using two steel tape measurers and moving from point to point and writing in measurements to reconstruct a scene. It was a lengthy and time-consuming process that would take, could be upwards to 5 to 7 hours to complete. And depending on the scene, 50 to 100 points being taken, and then that drawing would then be, a scale drawing would be made at a later date. Moving forward, officers would reconstruct the scene using a total station, which is very similar to that of survey equipment. Both reconstruction officers would be involved, with one officer operating the total station. The other officer would be using a prism pole, moving from point to point throughout a collision scene, with all the measurements being collected electronically. And then at a later date, we would take those electronic measurements and produce a scale diagram. This process would take anywhere between 4 to 6 hours to complete, and on average, 100 to 200 points would be taken to complete that scene. Moving forward to our FARO 3D Visionary Scanner, we have the ability for one reconstruction officer to operate the scanner, while the second officer is collecting evidence and doing other investigative measures while on scene. The FARO 3D Visionary Scanner has the capability of collecting over 900,000 points per second and reducing our time on scene to anywhere between an hour and a half to 3 hours. So as you can see, from where we started to where we are now, the FARO scanner is more effective, more efficient, and definitely more safer for our officers who are on scene.
At this time, we're going to conduct a brief demonstration to show you how the scanner operates. Now keep in mind, this is a controlled environment, so this scan will be very brief. If this was a realistic collision or crime scene investigation out in the real world, it would likely be more complex and would require more scans and more time. So this is just for demonstration purposes.
One of the benefits to make things safer for our officers on scene with the FARO scanner is the ability to connect remotely to the scanner. The FARO scanner has its own Wi-Fi network built into the scanner itself, so officers are able to connect. In this example, we're using the laptop to connect to the laptop or to the scanner to take the scan, or we also have the ability through our mobile devices to connect to the scanner. All the officer has to do is plot what point that they want to take their scan from, set the scanner in place, and then simply just press start to start running the scan. Now, the different things that can be adjusted throughout the scans are the resolution of the scan and the quality of the scan. So for quality purposes, it will take each point anywhere between 2 to 5 times as it goes through its 360-degree image. Once everything is completed with the scan, we are then able to get a preview of our scan. That preview is done in black and white. We also have the ability to add color to our scans once the original scan is complete. The scanner will once again do a 360-degree image, taking full color photographs of the scene. So once the scan's complete, we're able to preview our scan. And as you can see, this is our scan that we had just taken while I was explaining how the scanner itself works. So we're able to preview that scan and then move to the next location and take our next scan.
Again, that was a very brief demonstration in a controlled environment. In a more complex scene, we require multiple scans from multiple points. However, the time required is still significantly reduced from our previous operations. At this time, what we're going to do is show you a comparison of 2 images. We conducted a mock investigation in our parking lot, and we mapped the scene using our total station, and we also mapped the scene using the FARO 3D Visionary Scanner. And Jason will provide you with the images that both created and discuss the timeline of both as well.
So the first image here would be a final product that we would have with the total station. We have a 2-scale diagram in 2 dimension that we would submit for court purposes. Any measurements can then be added after the fact. This drawing has to be created by the officer post shooting the scene, and something that similar to this collision would take upwards over 2 hours to complete. In comparison, this is the FARO 3D scanner, and it begins with an overhead image. However, we are able to fully interact from that image to full 360-degree pictures. And more so, everything in this image is now measurable. So if challenged on the stand for any measurements as a reconstruction officer on the stand, it has happened before, that anything that we take a measurement-wise with the total station, that's all the collectible data that we have. So defense will challenge what's the measurement from point A to point B that we didn't have before. However, now we are able to measure anything that's in this image to scale. So again, this is a fully interactive 360-degree photograph. And then there's scans that we're all taking around, and you can interact with each one of those scans.
Okay, at this time, I am going to call upon the Gaiswinkler family. We're going to do a brief presentation and a photograph. Back in March, we submitted this proposal for this product, and from day one, the family has been very supportive of us acquiring this resource. And we thank you again for your involvement, for your support, and for your communication regarding this. I can tell you right now, I'm 100% confident, as are our officers, that this product has made us more effective, more efficient, and safer. So on behalf of the municipality and our service, thank you very, very much for your involvement and your support. Okay. Come on up, we'll do a photograph, likely behind this, or around this table. If that's not it's too close, we can back up if you guys want. We have a check to present as well, part of the gift from the family. Is that in the way?